right, welcome everybody. Today we have a fantastic discussion talking about optimizing your nutrition for your bone health. And we have registered dietitian Denise Garbinski here because I want you to learn from experts in their field when it comes to nutrition and bone health. And that is what Denise is. So Denise is a registered dietitian. She's board certified in functional nutrition. This means she can help you get to the source of the issue with your diet and your nutrition to help heal your osteoporosis and osteopenia. She's also trained in Bone Fit, so certified Bone Fit instructor, and is the founder of the program called Bone Freedom. Denise, welcome. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm really excited for what you have to share with our audience. Can you go ahead and please tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak with you and your incredible audience, Lisa. Thank you so much. So I came to dietetics and nutrition and healthcare as a second career. Unfortunately, had a father who had a lot of chronic disease issues through my whole life, and I lost him early. And that really changed, my whole perspective on what I wanted to do in the world. I became a dietitian just at the age of 40, back in 2007. And I became a functional medicine practitioner since in 2015, so almost about a decade now. And I founded a practice called Botanical Nutrition. And the thing about that for me is, I look at things like nature and nurture. I look at myself, and in terms of nature, I was not blessed with the genetic, genes, the gene lottery, in terms of, what was going to come with my father and my siblings as well. I have the risk for cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome. I was raised on a standard American diet. I was raised on highly processed foods. And then, despite being in healthcare and wellness and always going to the gym and eating really well, I became a vegetarian at age 25. Here I am in my 40s, and I am starting to realize, the effects. So, I actually have been able to use the functional medicine training that I have to really heal my own health issues. IBS, I've had a gut dysbiosis, constipation issues. I have prediabetes. I have chronic inflammation that I've had to work with, an underactive thyroid, adrenal dysfunction. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with osteopenia and osteoporosis. And I found out I have late onset celiac disease too. So, I mean, that's a lot, right?
Yes.
That I'm dealing with. But I have to tell you, it has empowered me to figure it out. Like we talked about, use the functional medicine training that I have to get myself in my best place and feel the freedom that comes with that. And that's what's really gotten me to, to create the program.
That is wonderful. One, this is not just how you help others, but this was a personal journey, right? Of solving your own issues, and now you can kind of push that forward and help others with everything that you've learned. And it's all connected. And I think what you shared there, so many people can identify with in similar experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about the framework of functional nutrition and just really simply try to explain that for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can even take it from the perspective of bone health, actually.
Sure, great.
Bone health is complicated. It's multifactorial. And it's actually, because of that, the perfect sort of thing to work through in the functional nutrition model. So when we think about functional nutrition, you might have heard in the past called integrative medicine, right? Integrative care. Precision medicine is the way we look at it too, personalized.
Right.
Like you mentioned in the intro, it's around root cause. We want to get to the root cause of what is unique to a person. This is not a pill for an ill, right? This is the new paradigm where we are looking at someone's microbiome. It is so personal to one's genetic background. That's what I was saying about the nature, and also the nurture. So the internal and external environment, how you're eating, how you're drinking, medication you might be taking, how you're sleeping, stress, which creates a
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Mm-hmm.
toxins in the body, external toxins. All of these things play a role in the functional nutritional model that we look at. And it's really, really important because diet is one piece of it. We're going to talk about it. It's a huge piece of it, but it's not the whole piece, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love this. So this is really a personalized approach to looking at each person's circumstances, nature and nurture to get to the root cause and find solutions that really work.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that I think is different than, what your neighbor might have done or what your sister might have done,
Mm-hmm.
or reading a book therefore. And it's really, really critical to understand what is you. And you know this too,
Mm-hmm.
you could sleep badly and you're a different person the next day.
Yes.
Or be going
Mm-hmm.
through some stress in your life, which we all go through, and you're a different person. So, really taking all those into effect to understand what's happening in our microbiome today and over time really, really has to do with how we're going to, either get disease and treat our disease.
Right. I 100% agree. And I love that. I'm very much of treating the person in front of me, and it's not one size fits all, and getting as much data and information about them as possible to provide the best course of action for that person. So while we're on this, let's dive in and talk about protein. How do you see the role of protein in bone health, and how do you guide your clients about their protein needs?
Yeah, well, I will say we know that protein is actually absolutely essential, right? For bone remodeling, you need, in order to have calcium in the diet, which in the body, which we know we have to have in our diet, you are going to use the way you're going to benefit from that calcium is the protein. You got to have a sufficient protein quantity on board in the body to build the matrix of the bone, the
Mhm. Right.
scaffolding, right? So we
Exactly.
know that. And as we're growing older, I would say age 50 and older, we
Hmm.
actually need more protein. So we
Hmm.
need around we'll call it like 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of our body weight. That's the clinical term. But what I really look for is around, 20 to 25 grams of high quality protein at each meal.
Right. I love
And
that.
that's especially if you want to build muscle, which we need to do,
Hmm.
in your strength training and
Hmm.
osteofitness training. That's really critical. For me, that's like 63 to 79 grams for me every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we look at that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. The protein is the building block. So from the brick house bone perspective, I say you can't build the house without the materials, right? So if
Right.
you don't have any materials to build, your house isn't going to grow stronger. So that's a really important component. And I like dividing it up into separate meals. So it gives us our body more chance to absorb that and to utilize it, right? Um,
Absolutely.
how do you help guide your clients in understanding what is high quality and what is a portion?
That's a great question. So we look at high quality can be, let's talk about it like the different ways that people think about it. First of all, we can talk about animal and plant, right? These are two
Mhm.
kinds of proteins. Um, with animal plant protein, we're going to get all the essential amino acids that we need to optimize that muscle and bone growth, right? And when I say animal, I mean anything from an animal source. So it could be, dairy,
Mhm.
eggs, meats, things like that. But I will get back to this too in a moment. It's the quality of the protein that makes the biggest difference to our bone health and our overall health. So it's not just that animal protein, it's what type of animal
Mhm.
protein are we having? What's the
Okay.
quality of it? Let's talk about plant-based for a second.
Mhm.
Plants are so important. They're a huge part of my diet. We're talking about plant-based, plant forward at least,
Yes,
essentially.
yes, very much so.
And I was gonna go, and I will talk a little bit later about the whole idea of like foods that help and foods that hurt. And we
Mhm.
talk about foods that help, anti-inflammatory,
Mhm.
antioxidant. The Mediterranean diet, for example, has been proven over studies over studies showing how that is really important. It's very plant forward. They have some fatty fish in that diet,
Mhm.
fruits and vegetables, fiber rich, nuts, prebiotic, fermented foods. Okay. So plants are important. We talked about that. But the piece around that is, we need to make sure that if we are just going to go for plants, for
Mhm.
example, if you're going to go vegan and you're not going
Mhm.
to have any animal products, we have to think about the right amount of protein. You're going to get enough, and you have to food combine. So make sure that
Mhm.
you're getting the right complements to get all those essential amino acids. And that's it's not easy, but it's doable for folks that really want to do that. Because really it's about foods that we should all be eating. The great sources of whole grains. Quinoa is a grass. It's fantastic. Gluten-free. Whole soybeans, really great. Unless you have a reason why you shouldn't be having soy, you have an allergy or another reason. I'm a big advocate for whole soybeans, not soy isolates, of course. Legumes, nuts, and seeds, right? So that covers off the plant. So an animal preferential would be fish, sustainable, fatty fish, ideally. That's salmon, sardines, herring, trout. Shellfish can be really helpful too and sustainable. But other fish have a lot of omega-3s like cod, halibut, haddock, rockfish. I tell people watch the tuna because tuna can be high in mercury. And if you eat tons of tuna, I am a person that had that. I had high mercury levels that we caught through my functional medicine testing that I had to work with. So that we are careful with. But the animal protein, again, is a really important one. And let's talk about what healthy animal protein is.
Okay.
So ideally, we want to look at the source. So in a perfect world, back in the day, before we had any factory farming, before we had, all of the agribusiness that's come out that is really and really endangered so much of us in terms of how we eat now, we've lost the source. So, for example, wild game and animals that are allowed to graze, grass-fed animals versus what they have now is grain-fed, which the animals were never meant to eat grain. They're supposed to be eating grass. They're eating the bugs. They're in the grass and all the wonderful things that come from that. That produces nutrient-rich meat, milk, cheese, and eggs and butter that are promoted, rich in vitamin K2, by the way, that are promoting bone and heart health, right? Both of those things are critically important.
I don't think most people understand that what the animal eats changes the nutrition that they get from eating that animal.
Absolutely.
Completely changes it.
Yeah.
So if an animal is not eating foods that it was meant to eat, it's not the quality that we're looking for. That's what you're saying, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And we can take it from the paradigm of being mothers and when we're nursing our children. What we eat goes into our children's milk that we're nursing. Right.
Exactly.
So we care, there's a study showing that folks that never shopped at a place like Whole Foods and natural store start to do that when they're nursing, right? Because they start to take advantage of the fact, I need to take care of my baby's health. Well, this is the same idea here, right? We want to be eating the foods that come from nurtured animals, frankly.
Right. Absolutely. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the idea of that, and we can get into the whole K2 piece there, but that is really, for me, critical around when I'm helping folks understand how to eat. Animal products make sense for folks, to get enough protein, but be very careful on, the choices that you make, because again, you can choose to make a healthy choice or make an unhealthy choice. And we look at food as medicine, or food can be poison based on, choices that we make.
Yeah, I really love all of that. And I'm very much a plant forward eater, and really understanding that we can't extract what we think is the beneficial component of a vegetable and put it in a pill and take it. We're not getting the entourage effect of all of the micronutrients in that food and the variety and the fiber and the colors and the things that those things combined provide for us for our health is so different than anything we could take in pill form, right?
So well said. Exactly. There are micronutrients and incredible, antioxidants that are so rich that are in that whole food that we just haven't figured out a way. Resveratrol is a really good idea, a good one too. You can take these pills, but it's not the same as getting them from like eating grapes,
Exactly. Eating the whole food, eating it at the source with all of the other things that come with it. Wonderful.
Exactly.
So you touched base on vitamin K and vitamin K2, and that is a really important topic when it comes to bone health, and it's an incredibly important vitamin when it comes to bone health. So let's hear how you share with your clients about vitamin K.
Yeah, so that's really great. And I'm going to go back to the conversation we had a little earlier around how does vitamin K even happen? Like, what's the piece around that?
How does it happen? That's a good question.
It's interesting. So animals eat Grass, we talked about that, right? It has
Hmm.
chlorophyll containing plants. They ingest essentially what is vitamin K1. We're all eating that too, right? We're having fruits and vegetables and we
Hmm.
get K1,
Hmm.
right? Very important. But the animal is able to convert that K1 in their body to vitamin K2. We don't do that. We can't convert to
Brilliant.
vitamin K2. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So it has to come from a source,
Yeah.
right? And there was one, and you probably know this, Lisa, because you just had it recently when I read your blog. There's one source of a plant that has a very rich vitamin K2, and that is in the most rich form, which is a K2MK. These are we can tell you it's a menaquinine is the name.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
a long word, but that's what that MK is, menaquinine. And there's a K2 4 and a K2 7.
Right.
And the richest superfood in the world that is from bacterial fermentation that alters that K to an MK7 is natto.
Natto. Yeah, yeah. Fermented natto, fermented soybean. Very unique
Exactly.
food, very unique flavor and texture. It mixes well with salads and rice and different things. It was gifted to me and I absolutely loved it. It's wonderful way. I would way rather get things from food than anything else. So yeah, fermented soybean, natto. There's some interesting Japanese studies on this as well that show their
Absolutely.
benefit in bone density. So there's vitamin K1, which is more of the blood thinning vitamin side of things, and vitamin K2, which is more important on the calcitonin and the
Totally.
bone formation side, right?
Yes, let's talk
Oh,
about that. So vitamin K2 basically is important because it activates the proteins that guide calcium into the bones and teeth where we want it, and
hmm.
out of our soft tissues, which is in the coronary arteries where we don't want it.
Right,
And this is fascinating if you think about it,
right.
because if you don't have the K2 on board and you're taking all this calcium, is it going into our bones?
Hmm. Yeah. Are we getting the benefit that we're really trying to get, right?
Yeah. And
Right.
what's happening is we're seeing, talking about that Japanese study that you just mentioned, folks that are having natto and having that K2 on board in their diet, they are not having osteoporosis and they're not having heart disease
Hmm.
because they're not having the issue of where's the calcium that we normally would be eating going into our heart,
Right,
the coronary arteries, which is a big deal in our society.
right.
So we talk about the K2. K2 is not stored in the body, by the way. It has to come from external. It has to come from the diet, ideally, or it could come, of course, through supplementation. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Fat soluble or water soluble?
It is interesting. It is. It's interesting. I think the jury is out on that. I would
Mm.
imagine it is a water soluble, but the ironic thing about that is it's more treated like fat soluble because it works with vitamin D and it works
Oh,
with
okay.
vitamin A.
Okay.
And those are fat soluble vitamins.
Okay. Okay.
So it's an interesting sort of vitamin, I would say,
Mm.
if you want to call it that. The best source again is going to be from grass-fed animal products. If you want to get it in your diet, we're talking about, if you ever see these pastured eggs,
Hmm.
and you open
Hmm.
them up and that color of that yolk is like an orangey yellow. That
Yes.
is incredible. It is got a lot of K2, the one that you want in there. It's got vitamin A, so the rich beta carotene in there. And those types of eggs, those products have been shown in studies to actually lower our cholesterol,
Yes.
lower our risk for
Yes.
heart disease. So
Hmm.
that's like turning the whole paradigm on its end, isn't it? When we're saying, oh, we shouldn't be having these animal products. Well, you shouldn't be having necessarily the red meats and animal, the saturated fats that come from the factory farmed animals. But when you're looking at other types of products, they're actually quite helpful in the body, we've seen in studies.
I love that. I love that you share that and changing this perspective of like you're talking about preparing your own food. And we're not talking about the food that we're getting that's highly processed, that may be
Exactly.
chicken or fish, but we're talking about a fish burger at a fast food restaurant. We're talking about whole foods that we prepare and how we get that nutrition. I want to backstep a
Exactly.
little bit about the calcium and when calcium, and we get the calcification in the heart vessels. And that if we think about calcium and how it affects in their bones, it's providing stiffness and structure in our bones. We don't want that in our blood vessels. We want blood vessels to be flexible and stretchy, not stiff and brittle. So that's why we definitely want to direct calcium into where we need it, into our teeth and bones and skeleton, and not into our arteries. And they do a test for that. You can get a calcification test for your heart.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really wonderful.
A coronary calcium screening for that reason. It connects
Exactly.
it right there.
Exactly. So do you generally recommend food sources for your clients? How do you assess if they need vitamin K2 supplementation, and what do you recommend there?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna, meet the client where they are, right? So if
Always.
someone's interested in learning how to make their own yogurt, I'm happy to show you. I can tell you how to make buttermilk and how to, find sources of ghee, for example, which is grass-fed, and that's an
I've made ghee.
Ayurvedic.
Ghee's wonderful. Yes.
It's an Ayurvedic type of a butter, if you will. You leave it on your counter of all things. I mean, it's pretty cool, right? If you're interested in all this stuff, you can totally find resources of it and how to do it. But if you don't have the time or it doesn't really interest you, there's little things that you can do. Like you can find pasture eggs at the grocery store, things like that. And then I think that supplementation is critical, honestly, because we need to get that K2 in the body. And so, yeah, so I absolutely have a number of products that I really like that are going to be, a K2, an MK2, we'll call it a K2 MK source. And we ideally, like you could get MK4, you see that a lot. That is a longer, short half-life MK4.
Right.
So the idea is you have to take it throughout the day. Just like you said, we're not taking protein all at once. You're having it throughout the day. You're not taking calcium all at once. If that's your supplementing, we take it throughout the day. You can take your K2 throughout the day. But if you take an MK7, which does come from natto, so if you don't have a soybean allergy or thing like that, and you can do that, you can find supplements that have 7. You take it once a day, and you're good.
Yeah, it lasts longer in your system. It's got a longer half-life.
In the system, exactly. And so I have a number of products that I recommend to my clients that I think are really great that I also take, by the way. And I think that is quite frankly, an insurance policy that
Wonderful.
for sure that you're doing the best you can.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that. If it's okay, I want to just step back into the soy conversation really quick before we get on to digestion. For a long time, there were conversations about soy not being beneficial for breast cancer survivors. And I know that we have a lot of new evidence and some other professionals that I've talked with that soy is safe for people who've had breast cancer. I don't know if this is any data you've looked at, because I know you work more in the osteoporosis realm, but I just wanted to share that because a lot of the people that listen have had breast cancer, and that's why they're paying attention to their bone health.
Yes, and I think that's a really great conversation to have. I still have clients ask me all the time this question. And I think, of course, we always say, talk to your doctor. Your doctor will know your specific case, what kind of cancer you have, and what is, your risk. But in every way that we can, we have absolutely seen the studies for sure, like you just said. And I have talked to, other medical doctors who speak a lot on plant-based diet, on soybean in the diet, for heart health, for osteoporosis, for preventing cancer.
Yes, absolutely.
And a soybean and rich isoflavones that come from whole soybeans and from fermented soy, like a tempeh, like natto, those kinds of things are they have the risks. The benefits that you get from eating these products are incredible. So I would say, don't just assume you shouldn't have it. Ask your doctor, speak to your dietitian or your practitioner to see if it makes sense to include these very helpful foods in your diet, because otherwise you might be leaving some great nutrition and taste on the table.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the radiation oncologists that I work with is trying to tell her clients all the time, based on the new research and data, that soy products are safe and beneficial for her breast cancer survivors. So
there you go.
I'm glad
Thank you.
that we brought this up. All right. So Yes, you're eating all the right foods, you're taking in better quality foods, you're trying to get more plant forward nutrition. But what if you are not digesting it well, right? That is not working, even though you're doing all the right things. How would a person know that they might have issues with their digestion? And how do you work with them? How important is this? It's like
Oh,
everything,
it's such a great question. Thank you for asking. It can be complicated, but we'll try to
right?
make it easy here. So first and foremost, you have to know that everything starts with your gut,
Hmm.
right? So healthy digestion is going to be part of your overall microbiome, which is also going to basically speak to your immune system,
Hmm.
right? So all of that is important, critical for bone and overall health.
And
And
our
yeah.
microbiome is that good bacteria in our gut, that bacteria that helps support our immune system, our health, all the things, all the functions, that good bacteria, right?
It's essentially the good bacteria and some other things in there too. But yes, the whole idea of it is exactly that. It is basically you have a functioning, healthy, system, and you might have heard the connection to the gut and the brain.
Hmm.
They all work
Hmm.
together, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're finding you have brain fog, it might be because you're having some gut issues,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So your body has its best ability to fight infection, fight disease, to be its healthiest self when you have a healthy microbiome.
Hmm.
And so that's the critical piece. Now, what I want to share here is that postmenopausal women, because estrogen metabolism is such a part of the rapid bone loss that we see,
Hmm.
when in postmenopause, the gut microbiome that happens there has a profound effect on our bone mineral density. So more than ever, we need to make sure that we have a healthy gut as postmenopausal women because of this. Pretty
Wow.
interesting.
Wow. That's
It's
like so
critical.
valuable. Absolutely valuable, right? If we're looking for how we can really create change and address the root cause of the problem, there's like a foundational part of it, right?
Foundation. Absolutely. It's the first thing any functional medicine practitioner is going to look at. And so you asked some great questions. How would we know? Well, so we're going to look at what we call signs and symptoms
Hmm.
of essentially metabolic dysfunction. So I'm going to be able to uncover that through lab testing. That's a
Hmm.
that goes back to the N=1 or one patient, the
Hmm.
individual. Your biochemistry is yours, right? And then we take a lot of surveys as well to understand. We ask the right questions.
Hmm.
Some of the things you might notice are IBS symptoms. What is that? Irritable bowel. You
Hmm.
have tummy pain. I don't mean like you just had a bad night. I mean like you have this ongoing tummy pain, ongoing bloating. Maybe you have gas or belching. Constipation's a big one to look at, or
Hmm.
loose stools.
Hmm.
Those could be a leaky gut type of thing, is what we look at. Acid reflux. Are you getting, that happening? Are you having headaches? Are you having skin breakouts? That
Hmm.
could be a symptom of food allergies that we want to be able to
Hmm.
look at. Are you noticing that you just can't lose weight? Are you
Hmm.
noticing that you can't gain weight? Those are two major ones that are, often really tied to, issues with the gut and gut microbiome. Maybe you're chronically dehydrated. Maybe there's
Hmm.
something around that we need to look at. All the signs and symptoms of the digestive issues that prevent our nutrients from getting into our cells, our tissues, our bones. That's going to lead to chronic disease like osteopenia, osteoporosis. So what we want to do is we want to identify the root of that, and we do elimination diets as one of the tools we have. We want to figure out, are there offending elements that we want to remove, and we have to incorporate healing, healthful foods and nutrients as part of that to re-inoculate, to get those bugs back,
Hmm.
to get good
Hmm.
bugs, I should say, back into our microbiome there. We can use prebiotic fermented
Hmm.
foods. It's a great one.
Hmm.
And fiber is a big, big one. A lot of folks are
Huge.
just not eating enough fiber, or they're not
Yes.
eating the right fiber, and really figuring out the nutrients that your body needs to get you back. And that's essentially that's the functional medicine way of looking at that.
I love that. I love that. I identify with a lot of what you shared there, and I know a lot of other people do. I think we tolerate a lot of gastrointestinal distress, this mild distress that we just think is normal. And then our body will continue to send us messages and give us signals about if something's not normal. And for me, it was some gastric distress, some constipation, but then it also became some skin issues and a food elimination diet and healing my gut changed it all. But there was
There
also
it is.
joint pain and irritability and sleep disturbances. So it's remarkable how when we can get to that root of it and heal that, how it can change our quality of life tremendously. And then obviously how it has the potential to change our bone health.
Yes.
That's huge. I absolutely love that. And I love that that's what you do. I love that you dig into it for each person and finding what the solution is for them, because I truly believe that that is important.
Absolutely. I
All
will
right.
add too, when you
Yeah.
have that situation when you just, yeah, it bugs me, but I just don't think
Yeah.
about it. I just
Yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah.
You're basically creating a low-line inflammation, and
Absolutely.
that inflammation will not go away. It will
Yes.
build and build. I have the perfect example of that happened to me. And at one point your body will say enough. And now I'm dealing with that as well. So the idea of it is if you have this ongoing, concern that, Lisa was just saying those kinds of things too, you want to make sure that, you are addressing it. Don't just say, oh, I'm used to that, or I always burp, or, I've always been constipated. No, you actually need to address it, likely to prevent, having issues down the road.
Exactly. And I totally agree. For me, it was also a lot of joint pain. And for a lot of people that are worried about what caused their arthritis and what led to their breakdown in their joints, a lot of times it's that chronic low grade inflammation that we have that leads to that degradation. And that is accelerated and being postmenopausal and that change in estrogen, because estrogen influences our collagen and its ability to repair and regenerate. Oh gosh, I had another thought on that and it flew right by. Oh, and on heartburn. So if you're taking these long-term over-the-counter medications for your heartburn, that can interfere with our absorption of nutrients and also be a contributor to bone loss. So all of those things together in healing your digestion can make huge dividends on our health in the big picture.
Exactly. And that's why the new paradigm is not a pill for an ill anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
Yeah.
going to cause another issue down the road, right? So
Yeah.
you may have fixed one thing, but if you don't get to the root cause of what's causing it, it's going to creep up in something else, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what you said. Precision medicine, right? Treating the individual in front of you. N of one. I love it. All right. Lastly, what's all this chatter about prunes? Do prunes really help our bone health? What do you think about that?
That is such a fun topic, I have to tell you. It's funny that I understand why folks are like, oh, that sounds so weird, or why do I want that? I'm just going to say daily superfood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is so much study on this. It's great. They've studied postmenopausal women with osteoporosis, showing originally it was like you had to take 10 prunes. You had to eat 10 of these a day to support your bone mineral density. What it does is suppresses the rate of the bone resorption, right? Or breakdown. That's a way to say it. And okay, 10 seems like that might have a laxative effect, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they redid the studies and found that just 4 to 5 a day, you don't get the laxative effect. Most people don't. And you get this incredible rich anti-inflammatory, antioxidant superfood in your diet. It's got potassium that's going to help with bone resorption because it's got an impact on calcium for sure. It contains trace minerals like boron that's involved in calcium and vitamin D metabolism
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
growth of bone tissue, and it promotes bone strength. So that's critically important. Also trace minerals of copper and manganese. Manganese assists in the generation of new bone. Copper assists with healthy bone maintenance and our bone mineral density. And then you're also going to get your vitamin A, your K1, your B2, B3, B6, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus. I mean, it is a superfood like crazy.
Is this the
So
next kale? What? I mean,
it's kind of like the next scale. And it's funny because, for me, I've been eating prunes for quite some time just because for me, they have fiber and that's really
Mhm.
great because you get a little
Mhm.
bit of a sugar boost. It's got some fructose in there, but not enough where you're going to have an insulin spike because of the fiber. But also not enough to slow you down like in a workout. So like if I'm doing my training and I'm
Mhm.
feeling like a little peckish, I'll pop a few prunes in and that just sets me up. Isn't that funny?
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I love that. A nice little energy boost right there. I mean, you're
totally.
going to work out, so you're not worrying about a glucose spike. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Wonderful. So prunes as a superfood. I love that you were able to look at the research, but I had no idea how many beneficial micronutrients are in there. So it really does have a lot to offer for our bone health. That's fabulous. And it's relatively simple, right? I mean, we can
Simple.
just couple of prunes a few different two or three times a day and we're good to go.
Exactly.
That's fabulous. Wow. This has been hugely valuable for me. I know it's valuable for the people watching. I thank you so much because you are an expert in understanding this and this functional nutrition and getting to the source of the problem for people. If someone wants to work with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, so I'm very excited to be launching a new program. Again, this is just I'm going to be launching it actually this next month coming up.
Fantastic.
And it is inspired by my own journey, honestly. 2 years into my osteoporosis diagnosis, and I feel great. And most importantly, I feel free to know what I need to do
Mhm.
to really prevent the potential of having, um, a bone fragment, something like that would
Fracture. Yeah. Yeah.
fracture. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So essentially, my program is Bone Freedom, and you can go to my website. It's just got a sort of intro page there, just introducing the program and what I offer. It's really a holistic program going into the whole idea that we talked about, the functional nutrition area, the weight bearing, exercise, resistance training, balance training. It's a very important piece of that. And then coaching on lifestyle, right? So that's another piece we already talked about in today's talk. And so, yeah, I'm excited to launch that. And if you're interested to know more about it, just get in touch with me via the bonefreedom.com site and we'll be in touch.
Fantastic. I'll make sure we put that in the description below the video so people can find you real easily. So what a great resource to have to really look at that side of your comprehensive bone health program, right? And then for anyone who hasn't watched the webinar, Journey to Fracture Proof, that will be connected below. If you really want to understand the evidence and the guidelines for the right type of exercise to do for your bone health, that will be listed as well. Thank you, Denise, so much for joining me. And I'll ask our audience if they have any other really burning questions about nutrition to go ahead and submit those, and maybe you and I can chat again.
I would love that. I think that's great. Thank you so much for the
Fantastic.
opportunity, Lisa.
Thank you. All right, we'll talk again soon.
Okay.